The sun was shining down on the small village of Hatherton, located in the heart of New Zealand, when a young girl named Lyra received a letter. She was 16 years old and lived with her parents in a small house. Her parents were farmers and worked hard every day to make a living. Lyra was an adventurous girl who loved to explore the countryside, but she never imagined what the letter would bring. Lyra opened the envelope and pulled out a piece of parchment paper. Her eyes widened as she read the words written in elegant calligraphy. Dear Lyra, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected to participate in the Maze Mania event. This year, 24 young people from different parts of the world will come together to compete in challenges that are both thrilling and dangerous. Your bravery, skills, and determination will be put to the test as you navigate through the maze. Only one person will make it to the end and be declared the winner. The event will be broadcast for everyone to see and is used as a way for the people in charge to maintain control and instill fear in the rest of the world. Please report to the maze at noon on the day of the event. Do not be late. Signed, the Maze Committee. Lyra's heart was racing. She had heard of the Maze Mania before, but she never thought she would be selected to participate. The Maze Mania was the biggest event in their world, and the winner was celebrated and admired by everyone. But it was also dangerous. Many people never made it out of the maze alive. Lyra's parents were thrilled when they heard the news. They were proud of their daughter and saw this as an opportunity for her to make a name for herself. Lyra, however, was a bit more hesitant. She was brave, but she also knew that the maze was not a game. She would have to use all of her skills and bravery to survive. As the day of the Maze Mania approached, Lyra started to feel a mix of excitement and fear. She packed her bag with food, water, and a few items that she thought might come in handy in the maze. She also said goodbye to her parents and promised to return home safely. On the day of the Maze Mania, Lyra met the other participants at the entrance to the maze. They were a diverse group of young people, all with different backgrounds and personalities. There was a quiet boy named Adair, a confident girl named Neve, and a friendly boy named Eowyn. Lyra quickly made friends with them, and they all agreed to stick together and help each other through the maze. As they entered the maze, they were greeted by a tall, hooded figure who introduced himself as the Maze Master. He gave them a stern warning that the maze was not to be taken lightly. He told them that they would face many challenges, both physical and mental, and that they must use their skills to survive. He also warned them that there was a traitor in their midst, someone who was working against them and would try to stop them from reaching the end. Lyra and her new friends looked at each other in confusion. They didn't know who the traitor was, but they promised to keep their eyes open and watch each other's backs. And so, the Maze Mania began. As the group of young people navigated through the maze, they were met with challenges that tested their bravery and skills. The first challenge was a bridge made of ropes that stretched over a deep ravine. The ropes were unstable, and they had to cross one by one. Lyra was the first to go, and she felt her heart pounding in her chest as she made her way across the ropes. But she was determined, and she made it safely to the other side. The second challenge was a room filled with traps. The walls were covered in spikes, and the floor was littered with holes. Lyra and her friends had to find a way to get to the other side of the room without triggering any of the traps. They worked together, using their wits and creativity, and finally, they made it to the other side. The third challenge was a maze made of mirrors. The group had to find their way through the maze without getting lost. Lyra was amazed by the tricks that the mirrors played on her eyes, and she was grateful to have her friends with her. They helped each other find the right path, and they finally emerged from the maze, panting and sweating. As they continued through the maze, they encountered more challenges that tested their courage, strength, and teamwork. They worked together, helping each other when they needed it, and they soon realized that they were becoming a tight-knit group. But as they continued, they started to notice strange things happening. Adair disappeared, and they couldn't find him anywhere. Neve claimed to have seen a shadowy figure watching them from the shadows, but no one else could see it. and Ewan's backpack was found slashed open, with all of his supplies missing. Lyra and her friends were worried. They didn't know who the traitor was or what they were planning, but they knew they had to be careful. They continued through the maze, always on guard and watching each other's backs. As they finally reached the end of the maze, they were met with the final challenge. It was a room filled with puzzles, and they had to solve them to escape. They worked together, using their combined skills and knowledge, and finally, they solved the puzzles and made it to the end. They emerged from the maze, exhausted but triumphant. They had made it through the challenges and were declared the winners of the Maze Mania. But as they looked around, they realized that Adair was still missing, and they didn't know what had happened to him. Lyra and her friends were determined to find out what had happened to Adair. They searched the maze looking for any clues, and finally, they stumbled upon a hidden room. In the room, they found Adair, tied up and unconscious. As they untied him, he told them about the shadowy figure he had seen. He said that the figure had been following them throughout the maze, trying to stop them from winning. And he claimed that the figure was the traitor. Lyra and her friends were shocked. They didn't know who the traitor was or what their motivations were. But they knew they had to find out. They continued their search, and finally, they stumbled upon a secret door. They entered the room and were met with a surprising sight. The room was filled with machines and screens, and in the center of the room was a man in a hooded cloak. He introduced himself as the Maze Master, and he revealed the truth about the Maze Mania. The Maze Master revealed that the Maze Mania was not just a game, but a way for the people in charge to maintain control and instill fear in the rest of the world. The young people were selected each year as a way to show the world what could happen if they didn't obey the rules. And the winner was chosen to be a symbol of hope and inspiration for the people. Lyra and her friends were stunned. They had never suspected that the Maze Mania had such a sinister purpose. And as they listened to the Maze Master, they realized that they had been used as pawns in a larger game. But Lyra and her friends were not willing to accept this. They had formed strong bonds during their time in the maze, and they were not going to let the Maze Master use them for his own purposes. They banded together, using their skills and determination, and they overthrew the Maze Master. As they emerged from the maze, they were greeted with cheers and applause. The people had seen their bravery and their determination, and they were inspired. The young people became symbols of hope and courage, and they showed the world that they were not just pawns in someone else's game. And as they looked back at their journey through the maze, they realized that they had accomplished something much greater than winning the Maze Mania. They had found friends, discovered their strengths, and overcome their fears. They had shown the world that they were not just ordinary young people, but heroes. Lyra and her friends returned to their homes, changed by their experience in the maze. They were stronger, braver, and more determined than ever. And they knew that they would always be remembered as the heroes who stood up to the Maze Master and showed the world what they were capable of.